Hi, and welcome to this episode of Take What You Need with me, Kate. This episode is all about the winter solstice. So, we're going to take you through what it is, when it is, what it's about, what it means energetically, and then some really practical journaling tips and rituals for how you can essentially harness this energy and make it a part of your life and incorporate it into your life because it's a really fun season to be a part of, and also a season that's been really well celebrated for literally thousands of years. So before we start, as with all my videos, let's just close down our eyes, put our hands on our heart, take a really big deep breath, fill our lungs, hold at the top, and then really bringing our presence into this video and into the room and into your body right now. Then exhale, nice long audible exhale. Okay, great. So, winter solstice. Firstly, the winter solstice is happening in the Northern Hemisphere on the 21st of December, same time every year. So this video is timeless in that sense. And really the themes of it are really around rest, retreat, and recharge. It's really about the balance between darkness and light. And really it's a celebration that more light is coming into the world as we move forward towards the summer solstice. So the winter solstice is the longest night of the year. So the day when there is the most darkness. So this is a really good time of year to think about those kind of themes. But from an actual planetary point of view, what is it? It's essentially when the Earth is at its maximum tilt away from the sun. So it's, as I said, the day with the fewest light hours. So the most amount of dark possible in one day of the year. And it's officially the first day of winter from an astronomical calendar point of view. The meteorological, can't really say that, but you know where I'm going with it. Meteorological calendar is a different date for winter, but the astronomical calendar used by farmers and things like that is actually the winter solstice, which is the 21st. So it is the longest night of the year. And it's the day that basically symbolizes and signifies that every day beyond that, until the summer solstice, the days are only getting lighter. There is more light hours as we move towards that summer solstice where we have the longest day, so the most amount of light. So something really to celebrate, and has been celebrated both by modern cultures and Asian cultures for literally thousands of years, because I think anybody that lives in the Northern Hemisphere and doesn't get the same amount of sunlight in winter, or lives in a location where the sunlight is quite low. I'm, for example, in Northern England. We don't get as much daylight. It's not as strong. You can feel that in your body. So I personally am very grateful that there will be more sunlight coming into my days because I desperately need it. So from an etymology point of view, the word itself comes from Latin. So sol, meaning sun, which I think probably most people know, but sistere is the other part of stis, essentially the solstice, means to stand still. So essentially what that root of that word comes from is essentially when you look at the sun over the days preceding and slightly after the winter solstice, the sun's trajectory, instead of becoming an apex over time, basically looks like it's staying in the same place in the sky at the same moment on each day. So it's essentially the sun looks like it's standing still, which is where we get the word solstice from. It's also the same on the summer solstice, for instance, where the sun will be at its highest in the sky, for example. And it will look like that for a few days. So that is where the word solstice comes from, in case you were interested. Yeah, I suppose before I go on to the cultural aspects of it and how it is celebrated across the world, I'd just like to bring in the energetic themes that we're working with and that the journaling questions will be linked to. So it's essentially, as I've said, the longest night of the year. And with darkness allows us to bring forth themes of working with our shadows, working with the darker parts of ourselves that we don't usually like to illuminate, a view to kind of utilize that energy as a rebirth and transformation. And essentially harness those shadows to bring them into the light, and the light that will be growing from the winter solstice onwards. So identify them, bring them into the light, and then use them as springboards for new intentions moving forward as we move towards the summer solstice. And because of the light element of it, and it's a celebration of more light coming into the world, it's really also about using those transformations as new beginnings. So this is a moment where we can really set our intentions of where we want to move forward and really start again and have a bit more of a fresh slate. So that's the energy we're working with. But as I said, it's been really celebrated through loads of different cultures as kind of like history has progressed, really. So winter solstice, I don't think we celebrate it as consciously as our ancestors have in this modern age, but we do take elements of it that we might not realize actually are part of winter solstice celebrations. And it's had lots of different names over the years, but it's also celebrated in lots of different ways. So I'm sure you know about the sort of structures that over thousands of years have been built to honor the solstices and the equinoxes, which are things like Stonehenge, Chichen Itza, Newgrange in Ireland, Chaco Canyon. All these have been proven to align with where the solstice was in the sky at that time. And it seems that they have been built to celebrate and monitor the astronomical changes, whether that's from an energetic point of view, it's unknown, or if it's to help with farming and other things too. But those structures are all built to enable the celebration and the timing of solstices, which, I mean, if you look at the dates of those, they all have very different dates. They're all thousands of years old, and there's just like so much beauty and so much magic in those structures, and also just general logistical and architectural wonder in them. So I'd really recommend you looking into those and visiting some as well if you haven't already been. In terms of like specific celebrations, even to this day, Scandinavians, for example, have a festival called Yule, which is Juul or J-O with a little L. And it's where our word Yule, so an English word Yule, Y-U-L-E, comes from. And their celebration is around the winter solstice. And it's basically a celebration of light coming back into the world. And it's about feasting, caroling, and burning logs to symbolize that light coming back. Likewise, if we go back thousands of years, ancient Rome, they had a festival called Saturnalia, which, as the word suggests, is linked to Saturn, which was also closely linked to farming. So going back to that astronomical calendar. And Saturnalia was the winter solstice, and they celebrated it by gifting, by feasting, by playing games, and they decorated their homes with greenery. So I think it's probably starting to sound quite familiar to festive celebrations in the Western world. I probably will do a video eventually on all the themes of the different celebrations we have and how they link to different cultures, different religions and things like that, because I think that would be super interesting. So let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see. But yeah, so the Romans celebrated the winter solstice as Saturnalia, which is wonderful and not honestly massively dissimilar to how the Scandinavians celebrate Yule or how we actually celebrate the festive season here in the UK or in the US. So yeah, like it's really long-standing tradition and has been really well honoured over many cultures over thousands of years. I just think that as Western civilization has come on, it's kind of taken and morphed into its own kind of festival, but without actually being called the winter solstice. And I think it's remiss of us to not acknowledge when more light is coming into our lives. And it's essentially a festival of hope and a triumph of light over dark, which I think is probably really well needed in the world as it is today, and hopefully is something that you can harness. So from an energetic point of view, as I said, it's about honouring the darkness within you and creating the space through that honor to shine a light on things that maybe you want to transform, things that are no longer serving you, both outside yourself and in your environment, but also within yourself as well. It's a real moment for stillness too, because I think there's real power in being able to sit in the dark, knowing that light is coming, but you have to have that stillness about you and that persistence and that kind of patience to be able to say, I can sit with this darkness because I know better is coming. So that's kind of like the energy of rebirth and transformation, and I suppose trusting in the timing and surrendering to the timing of your life. It's a real moment to release what no longer serves you so you can replace that spaciousness that you've created with things that will be your renewal and will give you energy and will be replaced with things that really give you vitality in life. And I think it's also a symbolism of, and this is more of a personal one than a themed one from the festivals, but I find that winter, and particularly the darkness of the winter nights and the minimal light, can really inspire both woe and kind of like low mood in people, but also a lot of joy as well. And I think this season, particularly around December, I think it's a real moment of highs and lows. So it can feel all at once very depressing and very isolating and very lonely, but also really joyful and light and celebratory at the same time. And I think Winter Solstice really has that duality about it. And I find it the perfect day personally to honor the duality of being able to hold the full spectrum of emotions, whether that is like absolute darkness and depression and apathy and woe, or holding joy and celebration and vitality and excitement. All of those things we can hold both simultaneously and separately. And I think the winter solstice is really a time where we can really honor that duality within us, that both things can be true at the same time, and it's okay. So they're kind of the themes of winter solstice, which hopefully made sense to you. So I'm just going to take you on to some ritual ideas that I've kind of stolen with pride from different cultures or just from my own personal experience. And then I've also got some journal shadow work prompts, or if you don't understand what shadow work is, it's basically like personal development prompts or prompts to be able just enable you to dig a little bit deeper into yourself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe them now, but I'm also going to drop them in the comments below in the bio bit of the video so that you'll just have them there as well if you want to copy and paste them into a Word document, or you just want to look at them and write in your journal. Please feel free. I would love to know which questions resonate the most with you, and by all means you don't have to do all of them. Maybe pick the ones that when you read them you feel the most physical reaction to, because that's giving you some direction of maybe where you might want to shine a light on your life. So I'll start with the rituals, I'll go into the journal prompts, and then I'll wrap this up and wish you a happy solstice. So ritual ideas. So I love rituals because firstly they honor the moment in time, but also I think that they generate a devotion to yourself and a devotion to your own self-improvement, your own self-awareness, and also like a good signifier of time as you go along and honoring seasons. So I call them rituals. You can call them whatever you want. Some people might call them spells. They're not spells, you know, but ritual spells, routines, some of them are just literally cleaning tips. So take what you need, as I always say, and this channel is called, take what you need from the rituals and the journal prompts, leave the rest that don't resonate with you. So from a ritual point of view, firstly, like on the night of the solstice, I would really recommend using candlelight. Candlelight obviously is a bringer of light within the darkness and really represents the solstice energy. And I'd really encourage you to sit in candlelight with no Netflix on, no music on. Just sit in the dark with some candles, safely, please, and just sit in the stillness and honor the stillness and see what comes up for you. And in that darkness and that stillness, you will find that you will start to get whispers of what wants to be illuminated and what wants to come forward, and what desires you have to bring more light into your life, and what desires you have in terms of letting things go and creating more space. If you sit in stillness long enough, you will hear those within yourself. So I'd really recommend just a really nice evening ritual of sitting in the darkness with some candles lit and just focusing on the candle and allowing those things to come up within you. The next is shadow work, which you can do after the candle ritual. But as I say, the shadow work I will take you through on the journal prompts next. The next one is one that I love. It's clear clutter. So when I talk clutter, I mean physical clutter, like tidy your stuff up, basically. I mean digital clutter, like all those apps with your notifications, all your inbox that has 989 unread emails, looking at me for that one, things like that. Clear your digital space, unsubscribe from the things that you don't want to hear from, create spaciousness in your digital space. And then in terms of your energetic spiritual space, this is a great opportunity to really clear the clutter around that. So write down what's draining you. I call them energetic black holes. Like where are you losing energy to? Where are you seeping energy? Write it down and identify it with a view to removing that or changing it in your life. Palo Santo, sage yourself. Have a salt bath, which I'll come on to in a minute. Like just have a shower. Even if you don't want a salt bath, just have a shower, cleanse your energy, cleanse your aura, like really take your spiritual and energetic hygiene seriously, as you would with cleaning your house and cleaning the clutter in your house. Clear the clutter from your field and clear the clutter from your digital space as well. And it's a really great time to do this. The next one is create a simmer pot. So a simmer pot is essentially a seasonal pot, which you can do at any time, any day. And you will put ingredients into the pot and simmer it and boil it in water, and the steam cleanses your space and the energy of your home. So for a winter solstice simmer pot, I would essentially say you want to put things in like fir, like as in fir trees, not animal fur, please. Fir, pine, orange, cinnamon, cloves, myrrh, rosemary, salt, frankincense, anything that feels really seasonal, and also anything that feels really like it's calling to you. It's not prescriptive. You can put anything into this pot, anything that you've got to hand. And you can also stir in, if you do it clockwise, stir in your intentions into the simmer pot as it's boiling of what lightness you want to bring into your life as we welcome more light into the world. Basically, leave this to steam. It will steam all through your house. Your house will smell amazing. That's a simmer pot done. What I do, I don't know if this is an official witch top tip or not. This is what I do. I take the simmer pot water once it has cooled down. Very key, let the water cool. Once it is cooled down, pop it in a little spray gun, like kind of like one that maybe had cleaning products in before. And I clean all my skirting boards and doorways with it to refresh the energy of each room and the doorways and re-cleanse it. And then I obviously protect the doorways with salt after I've done that. And it just makes sure that that energetic space is feeling cleared for the moment. And the next one is to essentially do the same with your body. So get in a bath, do a salt bath. You can put literal salt in from the kitchen. I use Epsom salts because that's particularly cleansing. And you can add things like cinnamon sticks, myrrh oil, frankincense oil, and even pop some orange peels in there and just be in the bath. Maybe use some of your crystals, any crystal that you feel called to in this moment, but anything that I think represents transformation or new beginnings or releasing would be a useful crystal to put in the bath with you. So that kind of cleanses your energetic body. And then the other most powerful thing I would do would be the journaling and the shadow work, which I alluded to before. I'll take you through the journal prompts that I would recommend. I've split them into two parts, releasing and renewal. And the reason it's split into two parts is that essentially I want you to be able to pick a few or all from each section and be able to identify what you want to release from the darkness and what you want to draw in with the light as the days get lighter. Just bear in mind that the 21st is on the cusp of Sagittarius Capricorn season. Sagittarius is the archer, and Sagittarius season energy is very much about essentially placing the intention. So pulling back the bow and arrow that represents Sagittarius, allowing the arrow to fire and trusting that it will land. And that is exactly what we're doing with the renewal part of the journaling questions. We are essentially firing the arrow of intention with those and releasing it to the light that is about to come and trusting that they will land in their right time. So it's a really good time to do this, and that's why they're separated into two different parts. So for the release part, I really want you to dig deep here and really sit with yourselves and really just write whatever comes up first. Like, no one's going to see it. It doesn't matter. You can literally burn these afterwards. You can bury them. It doesn't matter. Bin them. Whatever you want, no one has to see these. So just really honor what's coming up for you. So the first one is, what have been your biggest challenges and wins this year? This is part of the release section, remember. So what were your biggest challenges and wins this year? And what did you learn from both the darker times and the lighter times in the last year or last few years? Whatever time frame feels good. Just write whatever comes up. And do you want to release any of these shadows that you've identified as part of like the challenges and things? Do you want to release them if they're no longer serving you? And the choice is there for you. You don't have to release stuff. Sometimes we hold on to some shadows because they feel protective to us, and it might not feel like the right time to release them. So literally look at them and choose the ones that you feel are ones that you are ready to let go of, because they will create an energetic spaciousness for you and a void, which will allow more things to come in that are meant for you, but that doesn't mean that you feel ready to create that spaciousness yet. Once we've looked out what's happened, good and bad, how do we feel about the good and bad, what are we prepared to release, let's think about embracing stillness. So when we think about embracing stillness, what comes up for you? Write that down. Maybe there's a bit of resistance there. Maybe you're like, oh no, I don't want to sit with myself. I don't want to sit with my thoughts. I want to be busy. Stillness is not for me. I have to keep myself busy. That's fine. But write it down. Okay? What parts of you, if that is the case, what parts of you are reluctant to take a pause? And what is the hidden feeling, emotion, root cause of the anxiety or reluctance at being still? Where does that feel in your body? What color is it? Like, which part of your body can you identify where that's coming from or where that might have started? What part of you doesn't want to sit in stillness and acknowledge itself in the moment? This is really powerful stuff. Okay, and once you've identified that, is this something you want to take forward in the next 6 months? Like, do you want that part of you to still not sit in stillness, or do you want to work on it? And it's okay if you just can't tackle it, you don't have the capacity, that's totally fine. So you can just write that down and be like, this is a pin in it, we're going to come back to it later. But if it is something that you want to tackle, it's something that we can work towards for the summer solstice. So I really recommend writing it down, and then when we get to the summer solstice, we can review what we wrote and has kind of like that reluctance disappeared in those areas. It's kind of like a good measure of progress. And if you're just over it and you just want to let it go, then do you feel that you can release it into the darkness today? And if so, I would really recommend writing a statement like, I'll do my example. I release my fear of being seen. I release it to be held and dissolved by the darkness of the winter solstice. And then you can just burn it safely or bury it or put it in a river or whatever. Just release it out to the winter solstice and let it be gone from your energetic field. So then we'll move on to the renewal part of the journaling questions. And these are obviously a little bit brighter. So what do you want to bring into your life? as we call in more light in the world, what do you want to bring in? Then, how can you support yourself to bring more light and warmth into your life? Like, what do you need to cultivate to enable those to be brought in? What intentions or desires or dreams do you have that you are actually afraid to shine a light on or showcase because you don't believe them to be practical, realistic, you don't believe yourself to be deserving? Like, what are those deep desires that you don't speak to anybody, but you really, really want, but you're like, but who am I to ask for those? Who am I to want those? Who am I to get those? Write them down, because you are the person to get them and you do deserve them. And what if you did get them? How would you act? Who would you be as a person? What change would it make to your life? And I don't want you to write any practical issues or like, well, this would work, but, you know, I'm not financially safe in this or whatever. Like, write it down, those deep, deep desires, as if you have them. Write out who you are, what your life looks like, who your friends are, where do you live, what's your environment, how do you feel in your life with those desires, and write it down so you can feel what that possibility feels like, and you can basically call upon that. As we get lighter and lighter in the days, we can call upon that energy and allow it to kind of create a snowball effect where that energy of that desire feels so normal to your body and so easy to tap into that eventually that desire will become a reality for you, because it has to, because of the law of attraction. And then you can also write, which I find one of the most powerful manifestation tools actually, but is really great for renewal. I like to call it the simply decided tool. So I have simply decided my YouTube will be successful. So whatever your big desires were in the past question, write that I have simply decided statement and say it out loud, and keep saying it out loud. So if your desire is that you have £10,000 in savings, it will be, I have simply decided I have £10,000 in savings. And so call in that energy of when you felt your desire, say that I have simply decided, and let it go. No attachment to it. Just keep, not forcing, just every day, I have simply decided I have £10,000 in savings. That's it. Trust me, it will come. That is one of the most powerful tools I could ever give you. And then I suppose the final question on the renewal part is, how do you envision your life transforming in the new cycle? So if we were in the summer solstice in 6 months from now, what does your life look like and what has changed? And just use that as an identifier for you of where you're wanting the changes to happen. And then this is a really big question, and it's not part of renewal or release, but it's one that I think is really important. And it's, how can you honor the constant cycle of light and dark within yourself and not judge yourself or berate yourself for holding both of those? Because we judge and berate ourselves just as much for all the light in our life, the who do we think we are to have all these wonderful things and be so confident or so pretty or have such clear skin or have such a good job. Who are we to have that? So we berate ourselves for the light, and we also berate ourselves for the darkness in our lives. Like who are we to be depressed because other people have it worse? Who are we to feel sad? Who are we to feel this? Blah, 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 blah. Stop it. Stop. Okay? Stop it. How can we honor those parts of ourselves and respect both parts of ourselves and the duality of it? Because the reality is, the light and the dark are what give us texture, meaning, progress in our life. They're what drives change. And really, it comes from a place of self-love. And you have to be able to honor both of them, not just the light. Okay? So they would be my journal questions. And that wraps up this episode of Take What You Need. So hopefully there's been some elements of this that have been useful or informative to you, I would love to hear what you took from this, and if you did any of the rituals or any of the journal prompts, or if you simply just wanted a bit of a history lesson. And please write in the comment. And thank you for being here today. I hope you got what you needed from this and have the most wonderful winter solstice. And I'm looking forward to much more lighter days.